Greetings everyone, this is Brett with Hammerhead Model Making, back with another tool review. And today we're going to be looking at the SJ81 Airbrush by NEOECO. This airbrush was sent to me for review, specifically for this. Opening it up, we are greeted by this little kind of communication card. Hey, thanks for your order. Here's how to reach us. You get this little full color pamphlet guide here, which, opening it up, gives you a nice breakdown of all the parts of the airbrush, including what they are called. This is helpful if you ever need to order spare parts. It gives you some nice instructions on how to use the airbrush, how to clean the airbrush, and some description of the accessories that it comes with, and then finally some actually really useful troubleshooting information. And so it's not bad. Gives you a good idea of what to expect. Opening up the actual airbrush itself, we are greeted with a nice, or a pretty decent, braided cable. This is an airbrush cleaning kit, so it comes with some stiff brushes of various sizes, and then finally this reaming tool, which is really handy for cleaning out hard to reach paint buildup inside the airbrush. It does come with a small wrench for loosening and tightening the actual spray nozzle. This airbrush does come with 3 different sizes of needles. It comes with a 0.2, 0.5, and a 0.38 nozzle and needle. So you get some options in the kit. You get this large plastic graduated paint cup, a medium plastic graduated paint cup, along with spare washers and O-rings, which is very nice to have. You get an inline moisture trap. Again, kind of a nice little thing that you to add if your compressor doesn't have it. And finally, you get a quick detach attachment. Looking at the actual airbrush itself, construction seems to be relatively quality. It will not be unfamiliar to you if you are familiar with Iwata type airbrushes. Basic breakdown is going to be fairly straightforward. The paint cup is removable, obviously, so you can replace it with those larger paint cups if you need to. The back end comes off, and you're able to remove the needle nut and remove the needle. So that all looked fairly good. And then finally, you can remove the nozzle and the nozzle guard to expose the nozzle. So this, again, if you're familiar with Iwata type airbrushes, this will not be unfamiliar to you. And putting it back together is just basically the same thing in reverse. I do like the crown style nozzle guard there. That I prefer that than kind of more the fully closed circle type guard. So I do like, but it also does come with the fully enclosed guard as well, so you can swap them out. The machining on these parts, for the most part, was okay. You see me kind of playing around with the back end there. It kind of took a minute for it to feel like it was going on smoothly and correctly. Trigger response feels snappy and springy, so I didn't have any issues with that. Getting the paint cup on was okay. So overall, construction seems fairly decent. Now we're going to be doing some painting tests. I will be using Outlaw Paints Black for this. It is a lacquer paint. So this is the needle that comes installed in the airbrush. This is the 0.38 needle. And I thought this was some pretty decent, pretty good results here. I was able to spray some nice fine lines as well as larger patterns. I think there's a little bit of graininess around the edges you can see there. I noticed that in both the tighter patterns and the larger patterns. This is the 0.5 needle, and this one is really grainy. I was not happy with how this was spraying. And I thought it was just kind of unfortunate. And it also kind of had some weird, sometimes it would, the amount of paint that was coming up was really responsive, and sometimes it wasn't. So, and then finally we have the 0.2 nozzle and needle. This one was kind of a struggle. I felt like it was very inconsistent in how it released paint. You can see here I am blowing here, and I'm slowly pulling the trigger back, and then all of a sudden it catches and kind of releases that big old blob of paint. When I could get it working right, it sprayed pretty nice. I think the 0.38 needle and nozzle were the best of the 3 and sprayed consistently. And I think you could actually do a fairly decent job using the 0.38 needle and nozzle. I did hear back from NEOECO about the other two needles and nozzles, and they said that that was not common, but there could have been some machining issues between the needles and the nozzles. So just be aware of that. This airbrush does retail for $39.99, so I would classify it more on the budget end of an airbrush. But if you are a beginner getting into airbrushing, this might not necessarily be a bad idea. Mainly just because you get a lot of great accessories in this set that you would have to buy separately if you were buying a more expensive airbrush. I think the braided hose is pretty nice, and that is something that is definitely usable. The inline moisture trap, that's actually another thing that I think is pretty useful, especially if you're getting one of those smaller type, like Harbor Freight type compressors that don't necessarily have a moisture trap on there, which you definitely want for your airbrushing, as well as all the cleaning tools that you get as well. I think those are very handy to have and will make your overall airbrushing experience better. So I would definitely recommend this as like a starter airbrush, or if you are looking for an airbrush on a budget, I definitely think you could get away with using that 0.38 needle. I will certainly give it a try on a kit and see how well it goes. So I think if you are looking for a decent budget airbrush, and you don't have a lot of the accessories that you should get with airbrushing, then I would definitely look this up. Their information will be linked down below in the description. And thanks for watching.